and welcome to today's segment of The Power of Money. I'm your host, Michelle Graves, affectionately known throughout the United States and internationally as the Money Lady. And this particular broadcast, which is sponsored by DATV Public Access in Dayton, Ohio, has been broadcasting throughout the United States for over 13 years. So I'm delighted and honored to be able to do this show and to work with such a phenomenal group of people, including Ben Artis, who does a lot of the production and has been faithful. Melissa Constantine, who's a part of the staff, and she's been involved in making sure that the programs go into the different venues that we have right now. Did you know that we're also in New York City and Philadelphia, as well as many other markets? And of course, you can always watch us on YouTube under The Power of Money with Michelle Graves. There you will find well over 300 shows that we've done over the last 13 years before YouTube was anywhere where it is today, and where we were able to upload our interviews and information to assist you and your families to survive and even thrive during these difficult times. And believe me when I tell you that we have never, ever walked the road we're walking right now as a country and as a people. And for many of us, including those of us who are well-seasoned financial experts and economists, meaning we are trained professionally to know where things should be going in terms of the economy. That's my forte. I'm able to predict with a pretty good sense of accuracy what is taking place today. And it does not bring me not one bit of comfort, none, to see all the things that are taking place at this time, because as important as politics are, they are none to compare with your ability to pay your rent, finance your car, buy a home if you want to, and basically educate and empower your children who represent the next generation of leadership in our country. Those are my push buttons. I don't like to see children hungry in a land that is bubbling over with food. I don't like to see men and women unable to get jobs when they want to work, okay? I don't like to see people making up things because they don't know how to tell the citizenry the truth. We can take the truth. What we can't take is a lie. We don't do so well in the lying department. And if you lie to us, we may believe you the first go round, but it's going to be very, very difficult for us to ride your train. Okay, I'm just being open with all of you before I get into the subject matter of today's broadcast, which is super important, and I'm going to do it. But back to the citizenry of this country and the times we've never seen and the times we cannot even anticipate, because I personally would never have thought in my lifetime that I would see what I'm seeing today. Not only by the politicians, which you and I both know, that's a flaky group from going way back. Look at England, look at other countries. Politicians are just what they are. Many-membered ticks. Okay, politicians. But never have I seen such a situation where the citizenry are so poorly informed and are making decisions that affect their families, their lives, without so much as a protest. With many of them, I'm not speaking about all of them, the 250,000 federal workers that were just butchered and have no benefits, and nobody protested like they should have protested. Why? Because, not to be funny, but they're the people that work on our behalf and get things done. So if you're complaining before they were terminated, about wait times on the phone and not getting callbacks. Well, what do you think's going to happen now? It's going to be icky, icky, icky. Now, moving forward, we are dealing with tariffs. And as I shared on my previous broadcast, a tariff is a tax you, the consumer, pay on the goods and services that you purchase. Okay? It's a tax. And why is it a tax? Because under executive order, tariffs have been assigned all over the globe to everyone for being able to ship goods and products into the United States. So, just as an illustration, if your tariff is 100%, like say, for example, you want to order an electric car, BYD, they're big, excellent ratings, but they're made in China. Yeah. And you want that car. And the car may retail for $20,000. Under a tariff, if it's 100%, you're going to be paying $40,000 for that car. Now, I don't care who you are. To have to pay $40,000 because of an executive order to keep those cars from coming over here just smells not so good. Not when you can go to Europe and every place sells and everybody's driving these electric cars, which, by the way, take 5 minutes to charge. I mean, you have the charger with you. You charge your car and you keep going. That's the Chinese. They just efficiency nuts. But my point is that $20,000 that you paid because it was baked into the price of the car, where's that $20,000 go? It goes to the federal government. That's who it goes to. So you are being taxed. And so I tell people, they say, oh no, that's the business owner pays that tax. And I'm like, what? The business owner passes that tax to you. They don't eat that tax, period. The business owner purchased the car for what it is valued at. And then with the tariff, they have to sell it to you for that baked in price. I say baked in because it's not shown separately. It's included into the price of the vehicle. So yes, you are being taxed. And that's why I don't like tariffs. Because we, the consumer, are stuck paying the tax. And is it effective in terms of raising money for the government? Oh, my words. Last month, I just read a statistic where we were able to raise on taxes some obscene amount of money. I think it was like 19 billion. I'm not certain. I have to double check. But I looked at it and I said, as if we have money like that to burn. Really? They tax food that's coming in from everywhere, and it is. I love avocados from Mexico, but the price is clearly high at this point because of this. Likewise with other countries. You pay the tax, okay? You, the American consumer, pay that tax. Whether it's an ouch situation or you just shrug your shoulders and say, it is what it is. Just know that is painful. And that is not that it's unprecedented, but it's not with cause. What is the benefit of whacking us, the consumer? Not China or all these other countries, but us. We have to pay for this. That's one of those things I couldn't have been prepared for. And mind you, listeners, viewers, and whomever, I have been quietly stockpiling a ton of stuff for some years in anticipation of these things. And you're like, well, how did you know these things? And I will say to you, all great nations, Rome, Germany, England, all great nations have a downside. They don't always stay great. They have stuff happening. The Rome expanded too far. It was all over the place. And the little nation states began to riot and carry on. And Rome went into decline. Okay, same thing with Greece. Same thing with England. When the American citizens rose up against the English monarchy and the concept of a king and that he could tax us without our involvement, that shook the world. It also created a major problem with England, who depended upon their own little colonies, including us, to underwrite their country. Now, please hear when I say this, because this is real. They depended upon the colonies in America. Didn't say states, I said colonies, because they owned and controlled the economic apparatus here. So if you wanted tea, you had to pay a tax. And don't tell me why tea was the big thing, but tea was big enough to throw us into the American Revolution. We revolted against England and the notion of the king. Right. We didn't do that. And it triggered response all over the world. People began to look at their own forms of government and making some determinations that I'm not doing that. And they didn't, just so you know. They didn't. In our country, we had a full-fledged war. And for the record, England was nobody's play toy. England had one of the fiercest, brutal, savage armies on the face of the earth. Ask India, who was another one of their colonies. And they treated the Indian people like dirt. Okay? So I'm saying to you, England's claim to fame, because it didn't have resources, I mean, it had coal, but England's power was its military and its dictatorship in the form of a king who said, do what I say, or else you die. You need to have that history to understand why we are where we are today and why I and many, many other economists and thought leaders are looking at this, and we're not really feeling all that good. I'm not for any kings. This is a democracy. We, the people, we fought and died. Okay? Thousands of people never ever lived again behind this concept of no taxation without representation. And no, we do not worship or serve a king or a queen. We don't do that, not over here. But is it that people have just failed to look back at history and see what has occurred and determine whether that was something they wanted to deal with or not? I'm telling you categorically, I'm not doing kings. I'm not doing dictators. We know what Mussolini, if you did World War II, you already know what Mussolini and other dictators did in World War II. And actually World War I too. We don't do that. Not over here. We are different. And that's perfectly fine with me. We make mistakes. We blow ourselves up from time to time. But one thing is for sure. Nobody's worshiping a king or a queen. Sorry. We're not doing that. We just we'll just gamble and see how this all turns out. And for what it's looking like right now, and it appears like many of us are asleep. But don't sleep too long. Check the grocery stores, check the department stores, and the stores that are closing, shuttering, never to rise again. It's sorrowful. Right, they can't make any money. And with tariffs, they're going to make any less money because people are not going to buy that stuff. No. And mind you, the manufacturers paid for this stuff with the expectation that they would recoup it at the time of sale. So if they cannot recoup it, they're going to have losses, and many so significantly that they will not be able to stay open. You compound what's going on with tariffs and the whole cultural shift. In case you haven't looked, we are now five generations on this planet and in this country. There are people in our country that are older than 100. And if you look at every 20 years, a new generation, we got 5 generations running around right now in our country. And each one has their own cultural values, their own do's and don'ts, wills and won'ts. And it's not a wonder. It's no surprise to me that elderly people have a tough time communicating with younger people. I experienced it myself. I'm like, you talk too fast. My brain can't process that fast. Boom, 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 boom. Okay? Serious stuff. Really serious stuff. But we're here. And somehow this 5-generation situation has to get resolution. Young people, meaning 30 and under, they don't have a clue what you're talking about. They really don't. They're trying to figure out how they're going to get through the day. If you're a senior, you're trying to figure out how you're going to get through the day with your declining income and no way to recapture it because you're older. You can't go into the workforce being a boss at 80. It doesn't even look right. Now, I know Warren Buffett, awesome, rich, honorable man, he was a boss. But you know what? He threw in the towel. He said, yeah, it's too much for me. I don't want to do this anymore. And I know exactly how he feels. I'm not kidding you. It's a lot on the human brain to try to figure out how to communicate with all of these different groups, 5 different groups. And don't talk about the babies coming up shortly. That's going to bring it to 6. And if people aren't dying on the back end when they're in their hundreds, centenarians, old people, World War I and II, yeah, depression, black president, no female presidents, but that's going to happen because the young people don't even care. They just want somebody that's listening to them. And they don't feel that they're being heard from this current leadership profile. They're all 70 and older. And not to get controversial, but you know what, guys? There is a time to run amok. And God gives you your older years to run amok fishing, to run amok shipping, traveling and cruises and stuff. You do have a season to run amok because you've done all this other stuff. But running amok is not working when you have to have governance and you have to have vision and you have to understand the people you represent. Like I said, I had an experience yesterday that I'm still laughing about because I said, whoa! I'm a sci-fi buff. I love science fiction since I was a child. Love anything having to do with science fiction and can get to it. I was in a situation yesterday and I actually thought I was in the zone. I thought I had morphed into Rod Serling and Twilight Zone. I had an interesting dialogue with my eye doctor, who's just a brilliant young woman. I couldn't understand anything she was talking about with her associate. They were talking so fast and using so many technical terms that my brain finally said, I think it's time for you to take a nap. So I asked her politely, how much longer are we going to be here? Because I'm getting ready to take a nap. And she said, oh, that's just hilarious. That's just here. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I didn't hear a word you said. I'm telling you. Yeah. I just said, am I the only person whose brain processes slower than they're speaking? And if that be the case, do I need to head to Costa Rica faster than I had planned so that I can do some fish and just enjoy life? Okay? Got a few years ahead of me. But these are things that are happening real time every day. And I know, seniors, you are confused. You are. And you should be, because it is confusing. So, why am I talking about this? Because this leads into my subject matter in the remaining time I have. And that is, you need all 5 generations. You need to order your steps to be prepared for what is coming down the pike. And I brought up tariffs because that was unbelievable, and they're negotiating some kind of 90-day pause, which has nothing to do with the reality of China as the manufacturing capital of the world. 20 plus years of making everything. And if you think that's going to change in lieu of all the things that are happening today, you are mistaken. China's going to continue to dominate. And they're going to show us what war really looks like. Economic war. Those 2 dolls versus 30? I don't think so. Mattel already said, I'm not coming over here with any manufacturing anything because Americans are too expensive. I can't hire them to make my $20 and less dolls. He just said, I don't care. I'm not doing it. So what you gonna do? Well, for starters, don't mess with Barbie. Okay, leave Barbie alone. And leave the generations of women that love Barbie, leave us alone too. Because we happen to think $20 is a great price. Do I want to pay $40? No, it's not like that. And why should I? To make the coffers of the federal government faster so that they can spend money off of us and lower taxes on the rich. That's not balanced. They should be making products that are affordable to the working people, middle class workers, and tax the rich. Why not? Why not? You don't give them tax breaks. You tax them like FDR did and allow them to use their tax requirements to do a lot of things that are needed over here. Okay? That to me is fair. I don't want to sound political, but the world model is that people that have that kind of money need to be super generous. Look at Bill Gates. Look at Melinda Gates, his ex-wife, billionaires. She said, I got so much money, it doesn't even matter. I'm just helping everybody because I cannot spend it all. So I'm going to give it away and help causes and help people. And I said, I listened to an interview with her on NPR, and it was amazing when she talked about how the wealthy could change so much over here if they weren't so self-centered and greedy. And I was like, bring it on, bring it on, bring it on. I agree with you. Totally. But here we are. So today's show is about you being prepared. Not just prepared mentally, because we are in a shift. Like I told you, I went to the eye doctor and could not understand what she was talking about. She was talking so fast and using all these terms. And I finally said, I'm getting ready to go to sleep. Because you know what? That's what seniors do. When they get tired, they just go to sleep. The brain said enough. But on the be prepared, These are things that I think you need to be aware of if you're not aware. Okay, when you see a lot with a Walmart sign over it and very few cars on a weekend, that's something they're telling you. They're telling you. When you go into a Target, which I did, and talked to the manager because the shelves were looking kind of, and he said, we haven't been the same since DEI. And I said, I think your competitors have that same situation known as Walmart. DEI, for those of you who have slept through it all, wake up. Diversity, inclusion. Okay? People, white, black, young, they just said, I don't want to be bothered with this. You going to sign off on this? Diversity, exclusion, etc. No, we're not going to shop there. And he told me the hours had been cut. And I said, but Costco's doing great. He said, I know. They're doing all our people are there. I said, and I'm soon to be one because you all don't have what I'm looking for. And I didn't want to come in here for that same reason. I don't want to be involved with people that do that kind of stuff. And he said, it's a generational gap. I said, of course, because the young people grew up with Bill Clinton, Barack Obama. I mean, they're not fascinated about a black president. They already had one. They're not even fascinated with a female president. They had a female vice president. They are not on that page. Okay? And therefore, to keep things simple, they're just not going to support you. They'll support their little business owners that they know, and they'll support big companies that they think are honorable, like Costco. That's just where we are. Remember, there are 5 generations, and one does not run the other 4. One runs one, maybe. So, what are some of the things you need to be prepared and alert yourself to? For you to see an empty Walmart parking lot, that was astounding to me. Okay? They did not stand up on the DEI either. And like I said, there are 5 generations. And you can't run it the way you did in the past. Your word does not mean any more than their word. And I know you can say, so disrespectful. Then be people of integrity. Be people of character and honor. So that when you say something, it is balanced by the truth. Don't be a liar and say it's just interpretation. Don't do that with young people. Because they grew up with you, they know. Don't be a hypocrite. Just say what you mean and take the lumps as they come. But be prepared mentally for the shift, because the shift is going on right now. It's called rapid change. Okay? Called rapid change. Really wasn't rapid because China started making inroads into Africa and countries that America wasn't particularly interested in. Okay? But the Chinese were like, but they have all the minerals and all the raw earth and the oil, and we need that. We got 2+ billion people. We need that. So we'll help them, we'll support them, and we will sell our stuff to them. And that's what they have done. So us backing off on that 145% tariff assessment was logical, because they have already done the work to make penetration into other markets. We have not, and that's a problem. So when I say be prepared, the first thing is be aware. The second thing is, what are some of the things you should have at home at all times? At all times. No negotiating. At all times. You should always have a Swiss knife. You should always have the little fire starters. You should also have a barbecue pit. Why? Because barbecue pits are not dependent upon a gas or electric source. You can cook a piece of meat. You can cook your whole dinner. I had a friend of mine who I love dearly, when it flooded so badly in South Carolina, I mean bad, electric gone, water compromised, everything. Everybody rolled out their gas grills, charcoal grills, and they cooked the food that was going bad because they did not have a freezer that worked. And the whole community cooked for everybody. Everybody ate. Everybody fellowshiped. It was incredible. But because of their circumstances, they did what was needful, which brings up another thing you might want to have, which is wood and charcoal briquettes for your barbecue pit. Okay? Very important for you to be able to cook for them. Also, and I say this, if you haven't thought about this, this is a good time for you to stock up on, if you have resources, blankets, comforters, things that are going to keep you warm. Flannel pajamas, flannel top covers for beds. Why? Because spring is just rolling in, but winter's just around the corner again. And whether you believe in climate change or not, last year was a booger. Whew, it was so cold, even with the heat up. And by the way, for those of you that could barely afford your heat bill, well, I got news for you this year, because all those subsidies for heat have been defunded. That's a nice way of saying that you cannot get a voucher to cover your heat bill with the heating oligarchy in this country, also known as Duke, etc. So you would want to look at things that are going to keep you warm now, okay? You need to consider not only, like I said, your Swiss, but don't turn your nose up on duct tape. I learned that in Kentucky. You can use duct tape to hold together a car. Yes, you can. I mean, I'm not advocating that people run around with duct taped front ends, but I am saying to you that it's something you should have in the home. You should also have in the home a plenteous supply of other mechanical type tools that will assist you in doing what you need done. You should have a ladder. If you live in a home, you should have a full ladder to allow you to do repairs and other things to your home. You should also have, and this is just what I do, all detergents. You got to wash. Now, it's not to say you'll be using a washing machine, because those are electric driven, but at least you will have detergent to clean your clothes, and hopefully a stable source of water. I am not advocating that you run out here and buy a ton of water dispensaries. If you can't afford it, be in a position to boil your water. Okay, that's a pot, a heat source, and the water, and be prepared to use it. I know this sounds gosh, Michelle, you're sounding really primitive. Well, I haven't even gotten into the crux of it. I'm just giving you some fluffy stuff to look at that you probably haven't thought about at all. If you don't have candles, get them. And I'm not talking about new ones. You can get used candles at thrift stores. Just collect them, along with matches. Okay? You can also get your modern candles, which are your LED candles. And the thing about it is that they're battery driven. But you can pick up cheap batteries just about anywhere now. including your dollar stores, etc. Why? Because frankly, your high-end batteries, they're expensive. And people are like, that's too much money to pay for a battery. I agree. I don't buy them. Okay? So I'm just sharing with you insights. Get your candles and make sure you do have batteries. Because since electricity is shaky anymore, and don't dismiss it, electricity is shaky. You don't know what's coming down the pike with electrical grids. I do know all the information I read, Popular Mechanics, etc., do suggest very strongly that you have batteries and other resources that will continue to provide you a level of light. Think of the Waltons in the old days, okay, when people didn't have all the modern conveniences they have today. I would also say to you that if you haven't started, to begin a collection of rags. That's right, rags. Rags. Make sure you have rags. Why? Because they clean up quick and easy and you don't have to feel bad about them. Okay? So those are just, this is a cursory, because I can go deep, and at a future point I probably will. You may want to go back and look at one of my earlier YouTubes. I talked about preparing, but I'm revisiting this on a more contextual basis now because we are here. Okay? Things that you never thought would happen are officially happening. Make sure that you have your medications in order. Period. And I know it sounds really bizarre, but some medications, if they'll let you refill everything right there, do it. So you'll have a stash. I say this particularly for people that are on insulin. Okay, because what happens if insulin is not readily available in the future? Are you willing to stake your life on this stuff? Are you willing to hoard insulin as long as it's in a cold place or a cool place? I mean, $35 is what it is right now for a 1-month supply. And you may begin that process because you're going to need it. Painkillers and all of that as well. The whole issue of being able to get to your doctor quickly is beginning to get problematic. People in rural communities already know this. You can't get a doctor. You can't get a nurse practitioner. You can't get anybody. But as my granny taught me, but the fields are full of herbs. Take the time to read about herbs, to learn about herbs, and to use them. This morning, I'm drinking turmeric and ginger with a splash of lemon to jumpstart my immune system. It's cheap and it's delicious, and you can grow it if you want. But I'm saying to you, you have to be willing to be open and versatile. Okay, am I making any sense here? Pardon me, it's allergy season, and I have allergies. So, moving along, you want to look at the things in your home that you hadn't thought about getting rid of and trying to get money. I am not a big frequenter of garage sales, but many times you can bump into sales, and for a little bit of nothing, you can get the things you need. Okay, have a list and start looking. I used to be a strong proponent of thrift stores. I mean, I'm talking about 40 years ago. I tell people I couldn't send my kids to private school, which I did, and buy top line clothing. So I went to thrift stores specifically looking for certain things for their school. And I'd fix them and sew them, and they'd look great. Today, thrift stores are more expensive than your regular department stores. And I don't like that because it's all donated. But they say, but we got overhead too, but you're a nonprofit and you don't pay taxes. Stop it. It's not right. Okay? Maybe I'll have one of your reps on my show and you can argue your case for why a used dress is retailing in your store at $29. Well, sir, you can go and get a dress less when the retail stores put them on sale, and they do every season. So what's going on? But I'm saying to you that now is the time to clean out your closets to make room for the really important things. I will say to you without a blink, any cashmere sweater you find, ladies, keep it. If it's got little moth holes, fix it. Cashmere is the most expensive form of wool you can get, and it keeps you warm. You can actually do a cashmere spread if you get enough cashmere sweaters and coats. And again, you have to have a real good eye, but you can do these things to begin to prepare. Winter is only 6 months away. I'm serious. And the way time is moving, I don't know. Consider, instead of driving your car, consider doing a lot of your shopping, if you can, online, so you don't get into the costs and expense associated with driving your car. See, it's not a sale when you spend $5 in gas to get there. Okay, I do understand why people are shopping for their groceries online. There's no hidden costs. You don't have to go looking. They bring it to you. Now, can I attest to the quality of the food? No, I cannot. But I can tell you that the cost savings should be better. Should. And on the subject of food, you want to stay organic as much as, and no fast food. You cannot prepare for hard times when you're eating food that is going to kill you. So I know a lot of you are just going to cringe. Well, I like my soda. Well, your soda with all that fructose does not like you. And by the way, fructose comes from corn, and corn has been compromised. Okay? Just use a little sense as you plan ahead. That's on food, and you want to be careful. And if you can do. If you can freeze, freeze. Tomatoes are plentiful at the end of the season. Go to the farmer's market, get a bunch of them, freeze them. Oh yeah, you can them, but you can freeze them too, for real. They're great in soup. They'll carry you through the winter. Stay away from things that are not seasonal and are expensive. And by all means, look at everything. And I encourage everybody, if you can grow a garden, even if it's on your balcony in a pot with some dirt, grow it. It's cheaper than it'll ever be at your grocery store. You say, well, I'm not good at growing. Trust me. God worked it out where everybody can grow something. Just get an earthworm and some dirt, stick it in there and have a good time. I'm not kidding you. It's not complicated. Just do it. Is that okay? So, in the remaining time I have, you're going to say, well, where are you heading? I'm heading for the hills if I could. I mean, my people in Kentucky, that's hills. But I'm not in the hills, although that's an option. Okay, that's an option. But while I'm among the living and among people that care about where things are going, I'm going to encourage all of you to learn the art of working collaboratively and cooperatively with your neighbors. Be willing to help. Be willing to teach. Young people don't know how to grow stuff, although I've met some gardeners, including my daughter, who are off the chart. I mean, they've taken it to another level, and they will tell you how to grow cabbage, which I'm going to follow her advice this year because it makes good sense. So you have to be resilient. And again, a garden is a great place to start. You don't have to have a bunch of anything. You can do it with pots. You can even take a kiddie's swimming pool. You know, the little ones for $10. Fill it with dirt, put some holes underneath, so it can drain, and put it out there. Now, if you're going to do that on the balcony, you better have a lot of plastic because it is going to drain. But that's a cheap and easy way to start growing. Seeds are plentiful and seeds are inexpensive. And you will have the thrill with your little earthworms zooming around in the dirt with a little bit of Epsom salt, baking soda, and calcium. You'll be able to see your plants do amazing things for you. I'm just telling you. Same thing with your tropicals. No, you can't eat them, but they're pretty to look at. And I have them. I don't put a lot of time and energy like I used to. Why? Because that's too much money to pay for a plant that's not going to feed you. Isn't that sad? That is my attitude anymore. I can't eat it. Don't you dare eat that Dieffenbachia, because you will die. It's into self-preservation too. So I say all of this to encourage you. I do have literature that I can more than willingly send you if you want a straight list of everything. Yeah, I compiled all this as a part of this citywide event I'm doing July the 26th in Cincinnati. Yes, indeed, I'm doing a free event for the city for Money Moves to teach people and educate people on what to do for these days ahead. And no, I can't paint you a picture that things are going to get better unless you're the 1%, and things are going to be phenomenal. Other than I will tell you, like FDR told J.P. Morgan and Mr. He said, just remember, you're the minority for real. And if you think people are going to starve while you do great, there's not enough military on the globe to protect you. And they all looked at each other, grumbled, and said, no problem. We're in. Translated today. We're in. Next. Hope we don't have to go that road. But I will tell you, sometimes it takes people a little longer to get the message than others. It did with the American Revolution. It did with the Civil War, which is we're going to kill each other over this principle. And sometimes it takes that for people to wake up and recognize that not only is change in the air, change is here. And if you are not willing to be a change agent or a change maker or just change, which is, I gotta do it, and live and then thrive. This is not a science fiction movie. This is not about a lot of the doomsday movies. This is about practical wisdom that you need to apply now. Talk to your families. You can tell them all the money lady said, you better get it together, because I'm not going to be saying this too much longer. I'm doing this big seminar event, July 26th, Cincinnati, Ohio. You'll be seeing more about it. But I'm going to be teaching people. I'm going to lay it out. I'm going to lay the whole thing out. And I'm going to hopefully show you how you can thrive. Now, at that seminar, I will have a workbook, and it will have all the resources available for you to do better. I'm going to do that. Okay, but the workbook is not free. The workbook is being prepared for what I'm going to be presenting to you at the event. It's going to be sponsored by Corinthian Baptist Church under the Pastor K.Z. Smith, a phenomenal man of God. They are hosting the event. I'm capping at 1,000 people. That's it. And then, folks, Michelle Graves, the money lady, is getting ready to make a change move for real. I'm not going to beg anymore for people to don't drink the Kool-Aid. Look at life as it is. And stop watching all that television, because you're not making any money watching the news. okay? And begin to embrace yourself, your family, your tribe. Begin to learn the art of loving unconditionally, loving with no expectation of a return. This is not a transaction. You're not buying cookies. You're dealing with people's lives. What about that? That's where I'm heading. Money is what it is. Better to not have debt. It's easier to breathe. Better to use your money wisely and not foolishly, as many of us have been guilty of. You know that dress isn't worth anything. You know the shoe. How many daggone shoes can you wear? Speaking of which, as a sidebar, I have been a shoe lover, shoe wearer, couture for 40 years. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm getting ready to liquidate all of it. Why? Well, for starters, at 73 years old, I'm not clacking around with Chanel's or Stuart Weitzman's or any of that stuff. I'm wearing Skechers. And I feel great. Didn't know that. Can't see the bottom of my feet. But I said, oh, this is what the young people have been wearing? No wonder their dispositions are so pleasant. Have a good day. Because when your feet don't hurt, you can be pleasant. So I'm just talking to you about change. I never thought I would do this. But ladies and gentlemen, times have changed and are changing as well. And for the young girls, you wear those Weitzmans. I got some prices that'll make you howl. For real. You wear those Chanel's. You wear those fabulous things. Because I have moved on. And I'm pleased to be able to tell you with a big fat smile and grateful to be among the living every single day. For real. Grateful to not have to comment on most things I see. Been there, done that. My opinion does not really matter. And therefore, one final note before I sign off today. If you don't have a Bible, get one. I know, I'm not on that page. Oh, you're going to be on that page in a minute. Oh, yes, indeed. When you see what begins to happen in a society that has lost its way, you're going to need some spiritual insight. And you're going to want to talk to him about your situation, since nobody else really cares anymore. That's all I got to say today. Things are wrapping up. The subject matter was be prepared. Mark your calendars for July 26th, and I got it all in print for you. And closing out, I wish everybody within the sound of my voice who's been faithful over the years and to this station that has been so beautiful to me, I wish all of you a wonderful, wonderful life. A life full of peace, joy, love, squeezing children, kissing babies, and knowing who you are at the end of the day. I'm Michelle Graves, affectionately known for 40 years as the Money Lady. God bless you, and I'll see you soon.